Hi everyone, how are you? This is going to be a good video because it's going to cover a question that I get asked about on my mobile apps all the time, and that is, how do I plan a restaurant business? What's the difference between a regular business plan and a business plan for a restaurant? And there are some very key issues that you really need to cover really well for a restaurant, and I'm going to cover that in this video. So if you're starting a restaurant, I'm going to try to make this insightful for you. So number one thing is you have to have a great focus on your target market, and I have separate videos on why it's very important to focus on your target market, and then I have a separate video of how to calculate the size of your target market. Usually the calculation is done in units of dollars. Sometimes it's people. For restaurants, there's a certain radius around which most of the patrons will come from, and the radius is of course around the place of the restaurant, the address of the restaurant. And what you have to do is figure out the demographics who live in the area, how many people live in the area, what their affluence level is, what their consumption patterns are in terms of eating out, and you can kind of see also what other restaurants nearby are getting the most interest, like what's popular in the area. Is it younger people, is it older people, is it family, whatever. Is it a certain ethnic group and they like the certain ethnic food? So you got to figure out the demographics of your target market, because it's extremely important for restaurants, because the people around you, those people in that area, they're going to be the people mostly eating, right? So you got to be in theme of what that area would like. And of course, affluence level is very important, because they need to have discretionary income for eating out. The more income they have, the better. Next is the finances. In the finances, it's one of those things that it's really, once you do the finances, it really separates a dream of having a restaurant, and for many people it's like a sexy, exciting thing to do. So you want to separate the dream of having a restaurant, that daydreaming how cool it would be, with the reality, the financial reality, because to open a restaurant is extremely expensive. There's such a thing in business planning as like a cash flow statement, and you can literally itemize the costs. And what I really urge everyone to do, if they're looking to start a restaurant, itemize the costs to start, and then the costs to run the restaurant month to month. And these are different costs. Many of the costs will be different. So if you're starting, there's costs like remodeling, getting your licenses, doing research of menu, things like that. Remodeling, blah blah blah. So maybe you'll have some employees who will be helping you. On the flip side, once you are running the restaurant, there's going to be the monthly rent. There's going to be you got to buy your food every day. That's your inventory. You have to buy inventory. You have inventory costs. Then you have employee costs. Then you have maybe liability insurance, utility bills. But the large costs are employees and rent and the actual cost of the food. But there are many little costs, but you got to add them up. And actually, when you add them up, the expenses and your cash flow, and the other part of the expenses is where your revenue will be coming from. And of course, no revenue will be coming really from anywhere until you start the restaurant. So there's a gigantic cost to open the restaurant, and that's without even starting, right? There's no money coming in, so you just got costs. You're accumulating costs, which, by the way, should be mentioned here, that you have to get someone who's opened the restaurant before, because if they can help you, or if they're on your team, they will make the process of opening faster and more effective and more efficient, and of course it will be cheaper. And that's what you really want, because the overall process is really expensive. It can be time consuming, because you have to get various licenses depending on where you are located, and the licenses can themselves take a while. There's different licenses and blah blah blah. So it can take time. So if you're working with someone who's done it before, they will know exactly what the time-consuming pieces are, and they will kind of help you through it, and it will just be so much faster, and you'll incur fewer costs when you're starting. But it's that really stays just like that whole methodology stays like that when you're running the restaurant, because they also, the same person will probably know how to run the restaurant efficiently once it's running. So you want to have efficiency, of course. I mean, of course you want to have efficiency. But back to the finances, right? You want to itemize how much it will, what the costs are to start, and then the monthly cost. And then the monthly costs, you should give yourself 12 to maybe 18 months of time before the restaurant breaks even. And I kind of like to err, it feels like a long time, but you want to err on the side of caution, because you don't want to be in a situation where it's like your first or third month and you're like, oh my god, we're running out of cash. We underestimate, what often happens is, oh my god, we underestimated all the costs we have to pay each month, and we run out of money. And it's like month 3. And on month 3, almost no restaurant is profitable or breaking even. Usually at first they lose a little money or a lot of money. So you really don't want to be putting yourself in that situation where you're like, oh my god, rent is due, I don't have the money, oh my god, do I need to take a loan? I got an emergency loan or whatever, emergency funding. Usually it's brutal. Usually you're either not going to get that emergency funding or on terrible terms. So you do not want to be in that position. So you certainly want to count up want to figure out your cash flow statement and make sure you got all your expenses there, all of them, and then you need to certainly raise enough money for that kind of time period, that long time period, so you can have time to figure out how to get the clients, to build yourself, in the neighborhood as a part of the neighborhood, so people kind of think about you when they go to dinner or something. So that's where you want to be, right? So those are the two main areas where I would say that are very important to really focus in business planning. Of course, I would also say that the product itself is extremely important, but it's sort of something that I would like to leave to you, because if you're opening the restaurant and you're the restaurateur, you know better than I what the right food will be, right? And you kind of know, or at least I think you have to know what the menu will be, what the product will be, what like the product being the menu and the food and the atmosphere and things like that. So I leave it at that piece. I'll sort of leave it up to you, because I already touched on it, like when I was talking about how to cater to your target market and how to figure out what kind of people live in your area and what will appeal to them. So that part is very important, and of course focus on that as well. But usually I like to leave the product expertise to the business owner, just because I don't know what the business is. So that's it. I think that's it. Am I forgetting anything? Please comment. I think these are the important pieces: the focus on your target market and the calculation of your target market and understanding them really well, and understanding the finances. You gotta understand the finances if you're trying to open a restaurant, because it will burn you if you don't. This is a very, very brutal business, and you gotta be so careful. The statistics of opening restaurants are very negative. There's a tremendous failure rate, tremendous, more than many other types of businesses. And usually that's because it's first-time entrepreneurs, and they usually, it takes them a little bit too long to figure out how to get the business going well, and by that time they run out of money. So don't put yourself in that situation. Make sure you understand the finances, understand the costs, and are able to raise enough money. And of course, have deep expertise in running a restaurant on your team. You can have beginners who work hard, but you must have experienced people who know how to run this business and how to make this business a success. And you can get them as advisors or partners or whatever, but do not start the restaurant with people who are like with if none of your team members have started a restaurant before, because that's a bad recipe. Pun. So I made a pun there. That was fun. Anyway, I think that's it. I think you're good now. These are the major differences. So please subscribe to my channel, and of course, please take a look at my mobile apps that I work so hard to create. They're the Problemio business apps, and they cover business ideas, business planning, marketing, and fundraising. And they're available on iOS, Android, Kindle, Nook, and you can search for Problemio on any of the app stores, or problemio.com, or you can take a look at the notes of the description of this video, and I'll have the link there. So thank you for watching. I hope you have good luck with your business, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.